Good morning. Ada Jet Noise. ADA Jet Noise. Catch me. Facebook. YouTube. Rumble. By all means, please catch me on Rumble. Thanks for joining me. I am going to play something that is, if nothing else, incredibly intriguing. It's a video. Loudoun County parents. They're reading some sort of excerpt. I don't know, maybe a testimonial, pamphlet, dirty magazine, website, but they're reading some sort of excerpt. You'll start to catch on what it actually is as it goes on. What I'm suggesting to you is, if you're a parent and you're watching this, and you have little ones around, I would suggest that you get them out of the room, because there is some adult language, if you will, in this audio that you're about to hear. I'm going to do a stop and go, and so to ease this in on you. The first part is again, it's not too rough as far as the language is concerned, but it paints a fairly ugly picture. But again, we're going to do this stop and go, so you guys can get an idea of what it is. Here's the first part.
I came home early from babysitting and see her coming out of some car in these tight-ass little shorts, talking fast, telling me she's about to leave me. I grab her by the neck and start punching her. She wanted to be all big and bad, trying to face me like a grown-ass woman. She gonna get beat like a grown woman. She started screaming, cursing at me, and carrying on. I threw her in the closet for a couple of days. She kept on screaming, begging to be let out, begging for water. Every time she made too much noise, I'd walk in and kick her.
Now, when you first hear that, you like, one of the things I first thought of was the three girls found here in Cleveland, Michelle Knight, Gina DeJesus, and Amanda Berry. It sounded to me, that sounded like their situation, like that could have happened with what was his name, Ariel Castro. So when I heard that, that's what I thought of. And again, such a dark, ugly picture. And what you heard, the person that is a parent, she's reading to someone. Let's hear another excerpt.
Jasper wasn't even my boyfriend, just this dude I did some hacking with once in a while. He was pretty basic library systems, low security shit. Not in my league at all, but he had a big dick, and sometimes a girl just needs a big dick.
So, all right. Yeah, I told you. I told you. Get the kids out of the room. If you don't have, I warned you. If you don't have them out of the room, that's on you. So when they're walking around talking about, oh, what's a big dick? Again, this person, you can tell she's reading an excerpt, and she's reading to someone. We'll listen to the next one, and then I'll give you a little more details.
Tiptoed toward the door, peering through the window at the boy, his pants around his ankles, squeezed between April's straddled legs as she lay on top of a teacher's desk. I gripped his arms and flipped him around, pushing him against the wall. His eyes widened, mouth dropping. "Hey, what are you doing?" He chuckled nervously. I took a deep breath before dropping on my shaky knees, the ground cold.
That book is from it's been 2 books so far. The first girl's reading, and the third girl's the first parent was reading, and the third parent was reading from one book. Second parent was reading from another one. First and third parent are reading from something called Monday's Not Coming. They're reading to a school board. So they're literally taking turns standing up at a podium. They're holding these big, like, kind of cue card kind of things. So they're on their side. The excerpt that they're reading is they're reading off of. So if you're holding up the cue card, they're reading off of one side, but on the other side, the print and the title, the print from the book and the title are on the other side of the cue card, so that those are facing the panel, the school board panel. So as to paint a picture. Why don't we carry on?
Me and Monday, we did something. We did do something. He took a deep breath. She sucked my dick. I really didn't want it to happen. It just kind of did. Her top lip curled up. Wait a minute, is that what's really going on? She did your homework and you ate her coochie? Is that why you're crying? Because Monday's not around to do your homework no more.
All right, so now we get the picture that Monday apparently is the name of a person. Right? We've come to that conclusion. I'm sure you've come to a few conclusions so far. The book, right? I already told you that they're reading it to a school board panel. So you can kind of, you're probably piecing it together already. You've probably already said there's no way that children are reading this book. Well, let's find out.
I kept dancing, lost in the music, until some boy pushed me up behind me, holding my hips, and I froze. Looking to Megan for help, she nodded and mouthed, "It's okay, it's cool. This is what girls do at parties," I told myself, and kept dancing with the boy. I couldn't see, the alcohol making my waist wind faster.
I like her. She was reading it like it was like a book on reading Rainbow. So she put a lot of emphasis in it. She was, she turned into the character. So it was like, can you imagine an old Reading Rainbow episode? So the kids are indeed being given this book. This is part of their reading, the reading criteria. I do not remember. I remember of Mice and Men. Of Mice and Men being the one of the books of choice for the schools, for the students, I should say, to read. This is not. And of Mice and Men was edgy, right? With dealing with the entire cast had some sort of mental issues. They were just struggling with, whether it was alcohol. Lenny, who's was challenged. Napoleon. One of them had Napoleon issues. It's just a long list of mental issues that just all kind of collide of Mice and Men. And that in itself was edgy then. And this book is what the schools are being presented, what the students are being presented with. These are ninth graders that have to read this book. Let's go on with this.
I heard a lot of the ladies from my group, they talked about fucking, they talked about dick sucking, they talked about coochie licking. By show of hands, does anyone up here want to talk about that stuff now?
That is arguably one of the most profound questions I've ever heard. And he laid it all out. You heard the words that were being used. He was very clear. He wasn't shy about using the words. This is my assumption is he's an attorney that was representing these parents. So of course they're in front of the school board, and the parents want something done with these books. Now, I don't think there's an argument here on whether, oh, well, you're being a prude. Do the kids really need this in schools? Are the schools the place for these type of things? Well, you say the parents aren't going to teach them that. Well, no, of course not. These are things that you start developing relationships, and you start developing your own habits and your own likes and dislikes, and that's where those things kind of fall into place. What type of sex you might like, who you're going to hang around with, what type of relationships you want to be in. There's things, your surroundings kind of make those particular things. Your school, your environment helps you make those things, good or bad. Your environment was up. The schools do not, and should not, have a place in that. Are we still expecting the basics, writing, reading, and arithmetic coming out of the schools? Because I would say that if the schools would just be that, the basics, if the schools would just be that, 75-80% of any issues that they would have to deal with would not exist. But since they don't, or I should say, since they do deal with these fringe issues, like critical race theory, sexual relationships, abusive relationships, drugs. Is that what we're expecting as we send our kids off to school? Right now you send them off to college, and they're exactly this, exactly who they are. Maybe ups and downs while they were in school, but you know exactly who they are. You know who you sent out to the world. They go to college and they come back and they're completely just against who you are and what you've contributed to their personality. And it seems to me that if they're having to read these particular reading materials in high school and in junior highs, it would seem to me that brainwashing, that indoctrination that's happening in college, they want it to happen sooner. Like they're expediting human beings to be against their parents. I guess that's the most generic way I can put that. But his question indeed is, do you want to talk? This gentleman asked the school board, do you want to talk about those things that you just heard? Of course they don't. Some of them, most of them with their head down, some of them blushing, Some of them, I don't know, drinking water. Do you want to talk as adults? And I could just about guarantee that anyone that was sitting in that school board, in that panel, that even with their friends, after a few, alcoholic beverages, they still couldn't find any way to be comfortable talking about those particular things. They might live their lives in the, that kind of, in that kind of world. What you do behind closed doors is, of course, what you do behind closed doors, your business. But do you want to talk about that? Particularly in front of all these parents whose children you are telling to read these books. Let's carry on.
Not a single hand, because it's very uncomfortable and we're in a room full of adults. Nobody outside, nobody inside wants to talk about it because they're not acceptable topics. How did we get these unacceptable topics? Well, one, you didn't follow your procurement policies when you bought $1.8 million worth of these trash books. If you had followed your procurement policies, then you would have done a curriculum review where I hope and pray that at least the majority of you would have said, no, we can't read this trash to our kids. Your own code of conduct says that this is sexual harassment. We know it because all of us would be fired from our day jobs if we said this crap at work. This is the definition of a hostile work environment. My kids don't go to your crap schools, but theirs do, and they are filing these harassment suits on their behalf. Thank you for not doing your jobs.
Exactly. Harassment. If you read your SOPs or your code of conducts and what have you at your workplace, these particular things, I just watched the standard code of conduct video or something along that lines, and these two guys are telling these jokes about those kind of jokes. That's what she said, that kind. So they're talking amongst themselves, and then there's a young woman that's working, and she's not even like talking to them. She's like I don't know, 15, 20 feet away from them, but she can hear them saying those things. These guys joking about that. And what she says, she comes up to him and says, hey, we don't want to hear that, blah, blah, blah. And there's another young woman who didn't have enough gumption to say anything to these guys, but she's really proud and very happy that the other girl said something, hey, we don't want to hear about these things. Then they go on to later say, a good way of handling it is to go see your manager and talk about, how uncomfortable you feel about these particular things. But instead, and all this hashtag Me Too but we are just going ahead and we're just going to give these books blindly to children that are junior high school age, or what have you. The language alone is being considered sexual harassment in the workplace. But somehow, we've come to the conclusion that language alone is not sexual harassment in the schools and completely acceptable. Just flat out completely acceptable. Are you okay with this as a parent? To be teaching about relationship abuse, just flat out just sex? Are the schools the place to talk about you were whining because she sucked your... Is that the place? Is that what you send your kids to school? Do you send your kids to school for those things? Kidnapping. They talked about kidnapping. They glorified kidnapping in this. They glorified physical abuse. In specifics, a boy beating a girl. Is that what you send your kids to school for? On top of that, there's critical race theory. That's a whole different issue. But just a breakdown, just a simple black and white on what critical race theory is. So what you just heard is being taught in the schools, and on top of that, the schools are being mandated to teach critical race theory. Critical race theory is simply, if you are black, Hispanic, Asian, if you're not white, they're teaching you that you cannot make it in this country, in the United States. This is what critical race theory is teaching. That if you are not white, you are of some sort of color other than white, you cannot make it because white people are standing in your way. That's topic 1A. Topic 1B. There's no 1 or 2. And you can 1A and 1B are interchangeable in this thing. Topic 1B is that if you are white, you are racist. There's no if, ands, or buts about it. This is what critical race theory is teaching. If you are white, you are racist. And if you take time to point out that you are not racist, that is racist. If you say things like, I teach my child not to see color, or if your child says, I do not see color, that is racist. Critical race theory is actually teaching that people should be judged by the content of their skin and not the content of their character. The color of their skin and not the content of their character. Pardon me. So what do you think? Is this what you're sending your kids to school for? To learn about blowjobs and to learn about how you can't make it because you're black, or you're just the bad person simply because you're white? Are these the things that you are okay with sending your kids to school? And you say, well, my school's not teaching that. But what are they teaching? Because these particular subjects are being mandated. Those reading materials are out there. And if you cannot name the reading materials that your children are reading, then how do you know that they're not being taught those things? If you do not, even if you didn't even know what critical race theory is, and you believe that that either I'm making it up, or there's no possible way that's being taught in schools, then you are indeed the problem. You're not paying attention to what is going on in the schools. And if you are paying attention and you're okay with that, please explain. Please help us. Please help us understand how you're okay with someone convincing your white child that they're bad because they're white, or someone actually holding your black or Hispanic child back by cutting them off at the knees and saying that you cannot make it because white people will not let you make it. With all of the things, all of the evidence that that's not true, are you okay with that? Because these are the things that are going on in our schools. And as parents, we're letting it happen. Let me know. Get on Facebook, comment, like, subscribe if you wish. Please. Ada Jet Noise. A-D-A Jet Noise, normal spelling. Again, like or subscribe. I appreciate that. And please comment. Because this is far more important than it sounds. Snickering about dirty books, our kids reading dirty books. Yeah, it's understandable, but it's not the right approach. It's the very, very wrong approach. Thank you for joining me. And I hope the little ones were out of the room when you had to listen to this particular episode. Ada Jet Noise, ATA Jet Noise, Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, coming to Instagram soon, Parler, if they ever get their boom boom together. You'll see me back on Parler. You'll see me soon, in fact. Once again, on a whole nother topic. Until then, big hug, be good, be still, enjoy your life.